Take a point. Take a point. Take a point.
Hey, Chris, you know something? I'm going to do something unprecedented. I'm going to take a point, but I'm going to take a point from you. That's a Paulie round 10-9. He swayed me.
Patrick Ford,
after the bell?
Round.
When in history has a punch after the bell swung around? It's a round they won.
Welcome to Sparring Session. I'm George Jakovic, the ref, judge, and commissioner. We got the champions, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, but there's only one Sparring Session champion, and that is the defending champ, Chris Algieri, with a 1-point win. Guys, I got to get to some business first. This commission prides itself on doing things right. Unlike the boxing commissions, I read all the comments. We've got a scoring change from the last show. You remember that round one, we said, which president would make the best boxer? Chris Algieri, I gotta apologize. I scored that a 10-10 round. It's been changed to a 10-9 round. Rightfully so. So it goes from a 1-point win to a 2-point win for Chris Algieri.
The people
like Andrew Jackson?
The people have spoken. The people have spoken.
The people, hey, Paulie, someone said Chris was robbed in broad daylight without a gun in front of a police station during an outdoor promotion ceremony. Someone said, and now get this, another person said, our George and Paulie family scoring is crazy. So people really went in on that first round. And unlike boxing commissions, we do things the right way. So that is our first official scoring change. Chris, what do you want to say about that?
I appreciate the fans who are tuning in. And listen, we obviously listen, so this matters. Listen, justice was served for once in boxing.
You gotta say you've been vindicated.
I've been vindicated. Well, vindication. I won the session anyway, but
I'll be honest. People need to do their research on Andrew Jackson, bro. People gotta do their research on Andrew Jackson. That's what they really need to do.
Well, I need to do my research on Teddy too, because apparently he got shot during a speech and finished the speech.
Yeah,
that's a tough guy. That's a tough
guy. Don't make them like that anymore, man.
I also want to point out that the judge was suspended for 6 days for sparring session. That was 7 days ago. So the judge, me, has been reinstated. So, Chris, you're the defending champion. Let's go over the topics for today. You guys are going to spar. Round one's going to be the toughest guy in boxing today, and that's in honor of Chuck Wepner. Chuck Wepner just turned 85. We all know the story about Chuck. He's the basis for the Rocky movies. He challenged Muhammad Ali back in 1975. Round two, we love the fantasy fights. This is one that was talked about in the 80s.
Yeah.
Salvador Sanchez and Alexis Arguello. Round three, the best brother combination ever in boxing. That's in honor of the Inouye brothers, there's two brothers who are champions today. And finally, Upset Central. Going to give you 3 fights. And who's got the best chance at scoring an upset? Thurman over Zoo, Ngannou over Joshua, or Garcia over Haney. And we'll get to that when we get to round 4. But Chris, you are the defending champion. You can start or you can defer to Paulie.
I'm going to defer to the challenger today.
All right, so Paulie Malignaggi is going to start this one. Round one. Who's the toughest guy in boxing today? Like I said, Chuck Wepner, notorious tough guy, 85 years old. Happy birthday to Chuck. He just turned 85 a few days ago. So, Paulie, you're going to tell me who is the toughest guy in boxing today. Ring the bell for round one.
I'm going to say Oscar Valdez. And I'm going to say Oscar Valdez. He's been in some wars. I forget the fight where it was the kid from Manchester where one of them ended up with a broken jaw. And then it went back and forth constantly. The big trading. I forget, the kid was from Manchester. You guys know. Scott Quigg fight was unbelievable. It was a back and forth affair. He also had a big upset over Miguel Berchelt. When people think Oscar Valdez is out, not only is he not out, he comes back punching hard and getting those big knockouts as well. But he'll take 4 to give 1, and he may get you out of there, as Berchelt found out. But in reality, he's a guy who's always looking to make the fight. You can't really break him mentally or physically. He gets in there and he gives wars. If you cooperate, he will be in a war consistently and happily. And I think more than anything, if I can pick that one fight, it's the Scott Quigg fight that really shows that where he had a guy who was willing to engage just as much as him.
Great.
Toughest guy in boxing, Johnny Cage. That's who I'm channeling today. No, I'm kidding. Of course. I'm gonna go with the same guy that I said was the most exciting fighter in the world today. The European Arturo Gatti, Lee Wood. He's a guy who's consistently in tough fights. He digs deep. I mean, I was really impressed with him when he gets knocked out by Bronco and then comes back to immediately fight him. And that was after he had already been in Fight of the Year type fights before. War after war after war. That's what a warrior is all about. Being tough, man. A lot of times guys get knocked out and they want to avoid any big punchers. He went right back into the fray to fight Bronco, and that was really impressive. I thought he was going to get knocked out again. And then went out there and he boxed beautifully, did really well in that fight, won that fight. Then the Warrington fight, he's just getting outclassed and getting beat to the punch, but always believed in himself, kept coming forward, found a way to win. So not only is he exciting, but he's super tough, which usually goes hand in hand.
Break.
Yeah, you can be exciting, but it doesn't mean you're the toughest. I mean, he also figures out ways from a technical standpoint. I think Al Valdez is not as good technically as Lee Wood, and that's why his toughness matters all the more. You see the Scott Quigg fight, like I said, the Adam Lopez fight. He actually came back and beat Adam Lopez much easier the second time around. He kind of has a lot of trouble with guys who box him technically. He wants to brawl. He's got to bang, and when he does that, he actually has a lot of successes. As Burchell found out.
Yeah, but with the Lopez fight, Lopez wasn't a big puncher. He was able to hurt Oscar the first time, but I don't see him being the guy who's going to go for broke. He didn't really do it against Navarrete. He stayed in there tough, but Lee Wood will literally go out on his back, go out on his shield. The toughest displayed like that, with the mindset to have that kind of mentality to go into that into the fray that way again. That means a lot, because we don't see that a lot these days. So, boxing's a tough sport, but a lot of guys aren't that tough. Lee Wood, super tough guy.
There is no doubt both of those guys are tough.
Yeah.
No doubt. But I don't like to do even rounds for the most part. I'm going to read a quote from one of the fans before I score this round. Someone said, "George cheats Chris a lot. Why are you always robbing Chris, George, every single show?" That's a 10-9 round, Chris Algieri. Chris Algieri wins that round.
We would have gone for the Oscar Valdez. Oh,
there's no doubt Valdez is tough.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning
Valdez
his toughness,
tough.
but I think Chris put the better argument together, the better debate together.
Fighter. I don't think he's tougher.
And that is a 10-9 round.
You think Lee was a better fighter, you said?
I think Lee was
you had the better argument,
I think
Chris.
Lee's a better boxer. Yeah,
Do you really? Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
I just want to point out to the fans, we're doing the show the day after Wednesday Night Fight, so Chris and Paulie had a late night, but we're going to see who rises to the top. Is Chris going to defend his title, or is Paulie going to take it back?
I think I got to take a page out of Paulie's book and stay at Plant City instead of driving home right to the studio.
All right, Chris, you're going to start round two. We love to do these fantasy fights, and this is a fight that was talked about when I was a kid. Salvador Sanchez, the great featherweight champion who passed away at the age of 23, and Alexis Arguello, who at the time was a lightweight champion. So Sanchez was a featherweight champ, Arguello was a lightweight champ, and they were in talks. Don King at one point said the fight was signed. Ultimately, it didn't happen, and sadly, Sanchez passed away. But Sanchez said he wanted that fight, so we're going to talk about it today. Sanchez against Arguello at 135. Chris, you're going to start round two. Ring the bell. Who wins that fight?
I'm getting chills thinking about these two guys in the ring. These are actually two of my favorite fighters of all time. Ricardo Alfredito Lopez. I'm sorry. Alexis Arguello is literally the El Explosivo. Flaco Explosivo is literally one of my favorite fighters of all time. He's one of the people that my grandfather told me to watch because he was just such a killer, but also such a gentleman. And then Salvador Sanchez, I was given a VHS tape when I was a kid from a guy at my gym who had old fights, and he let me watch it. And the Gomez fight was on there, and I was blown away. And I remember reading interviews with Sanchez, and they were asking, where'd this newfound power come from? And he said, I just hit the heavy bag. I thought it was just so cool. I mean, picturing these two guys together. Unfortunately, we were stricken from a great career from Salvador Sanchez. We never got to see him go anywhere near his prime could have been. But for me, man, in terms of this fight, since we're talking about this fight happening at 135 and we don't know how good Salvador Sanchez could have really been, I got to go Alexis Arguello. El Flaco Explosivo takes that fight, especially at 135. I think he was a bigger guy, taller guy, longer guy.
I think also it's for the same reason. You know, at that time, you know, a jump from 126 to 135 wasn't made as easily as it is today. You know, you know, maybe the drugs weren't as strong then. You know, but really, you know, we know how amazing Salvador Sanchez was, but we don't know how he would have carried up to 135. I will tell you something nobody ever talks about, and it's a fight I've seen because this guy was a trainer in Gleason's gym, so I've watched this fight, and nobody ever talks about this fight. Salvador Sanchez probably lost to Patrick Ford. All right. Like, if you watch that fight, Patrick Ford may have deserved that decision. Okay. So he had trouble with tall guys who could box a little bit and whatnot. So if you fight him at 135, you know, a big guy like Arguello as well, you know, not that Salvador was short, but Salvador himself was tall for the weight. Yeah. But again, you're just adding more increments to it. And you know what? It's unfair to Salvador Sanchez, these kind of debates, because he died and we never got to find out. But you got to put Salvador Sanchez into perspective. Everybody talks about the Little Red Lopez fight and all this other stuff, but he had trouble with tall guys.
Right. Also, from a technical standpoint, Alexis Arguello, his hand position was phenomenal. He had this saying that every time you throw a punch, you leave an opening, and he was just so crisp, so sharp. But also, in terms of one-punch power, he had that, and he brought that with him. So in terms of punching power, he was going to be the heavier-handed guy in that matchup. And the fact that technically where his hand position was, and it was very difficult to get him into a war, I see Alexis Arguello winning that fight, especially at 135. But honestly, I think he probably might beat him anywhere.
Right. You see, I'm gonna knock down my challenge, the champ's perspective here, because Wilfredo Gomez was known as a big puncher. Well, it's not about the big puncher. I think it's also about a lot of things, about the height, the technical ability, and the fact that we don't know Sanchez how he would have done it at lightweight. You know, Sanchez would beat the crap out of you, and he beat the crap out of Wilfredo Gomez, his combinations and whatnot. But again, you're dealing with a bigger guy, and that's a lot to deal with. And like I said, the height makes a difference, because I saw the Patrick Ford fight, and let me tell you, Sanchez had trouble with those kind of tall boxers.
But that was my point. It was openings. Every time you throw a punch.
That's our round. Man, it makes me sad, because I was a little kid getting into boxing, and I remember Salvador Sanchez. And, you know, you guys are right. We never saw his prime. So he was 23 years old and already had over 40 fights. So listen, you guys both agreed on this. I'm scoring that a 10-10 round.
Are you going to say 10 round? I gave you the Patrick Ford anomaly that nobody will ever know. I bet you there's people at home that will now watch Patrick Ford.
And I went first, and I gave the winning answer.
Nobody knows about that fight. That is a tidbit that I dropped in. That was like a gem of knowledge.
Fans tune in next week.
And I dropped it in there just so I would
drop your comments.
And it was not even appreciated.
Paulie,
I think they're going to go now watch Patrick Ford against Salvador Sanchez.
You should file.
The reason I even knew about it is because Patrick was a trainer in Gleason's gym when I was young, and I used to train there. I used to see Patrick every day, and he was a quiet just guy who just picked up these clients and trained people. And literally, you would never know if this guy may have been a featherweight world champion had he been on the right side of the judges' minds. You know, it was that close.
Take a point. Take a point. Take a point.
Hey, Chris, you know something? I'm going to do something unprecedented. I'm going to take a point, but I'm going to take a point from you. That's a Paulie round 10-9. He swayed me.
Patrick Ford,
after the bell?
Round.
When in history has a punch after the bell swung around? It's a round they won.
You ever seen Jose Sulaiman? You ever seen Jose Sulaiman change the result of a fight when he was at ringside, or Mauricio Sulaiman? I saw it with Edwards against the little
Mexican. It went from a 10-10 round to a 10-9 Paulie round. We've got an even fight.
Hey, George, good luck in the comments, bro. Good luck in the comments, George.
I welcome them, because everybody's going to go watch Salvador against Patrick Ford now.
Well, I'll say this. Like I said, unlike real boxing commissions and judges, we strive to do things right. Okay? That's what we do here at ProBox TV. Round 3. Paulie, you're going to start round 3. The best brother combination in the history of the sport. And this is in honor of the Inoue brothers, who, Chris, you called Little Inoue's fight recently. We've got two brothers who are champions in the sport, but we're talking all time in the sport of boxing. What is the best brother duo in history? Paulie, you are starting round 3. This is an even fight. Ring the bell, round 3.
I'll tell you what, the historian in me, and I want to go with the Ruelas brothers, but I feel like the Klitschko's are a better brother combination, you know, because Vladimir, you know, he ruled for 10 years. Vitaly also ruled, and actually probably was on his way to beating Lennox Lewis had he not gotten cut in that fight. So Vitali also is winds up becoming a really high level world champion because of that, the fact that you can even see that. And then what he did after that, after that setback against Lennox Lewis, he comes back, wins the title, and becomes a dominant champion himself. So it's very hard to pick against the Klitschko brothers with respect to the Ruelas brothers. Honestly, the Charlos will be in a good position, but they've been dipping out so much lately that now they've fallen out of the conversation. So I'd say the Klitschko brothers. Vladimir Klitschko was undefeated for like 10 years or something like that. He had many title defenses. Vitaly Klitschko, again, before even winning the title, I think he won the WBO title. Then he lost it to Chris Bird. Then he came back against Lennox Lewis and was on his way to beating him before that cut. Then came back and became dominant champion.
Yeah, I hate to do this, but there is no comparison. It's the Klitschko brother by a mile. Charlos are right there. And what's exceptional about the Charlos is they're twins. That makes it that much more incredible to have two twins that are world champions. If you had asked us this a year ago, I would have went Charlo brothers because they were twins. The caveat that they were twins and that what they had done, being undisputed in this era, the fact that Jamal's undefeated, I would have gone with those brothers. But what's been happening recently, how inactive Jamal has been, how poor of an effort Jermell put up against Canelo. So, yeah, I got to go with the Klitschko brothers because there really is no argument at this point. And also, their careers are over. So we can look at it in its totality. They're not going to get any worse than they were. They're as good as they were. Both world champions. Vitaly was on his way to beating Lennox Lewis, and Lennox didn't come back to fight him in a rematch. That cut in that lip is what caused him to lose that fight, and who knows how would have happened in those last couple of rounds.
It was a cut on the eye, not the lip.
Both. It was both.
But let's go back with the Charlos. The point is made, but you got to understand that Klitschko's kind of retired still at a high level. The Charlos are sort of dipping out. Whenever it is they retire, you're not going to really think about them at a high level. Vitaly retired at a high level. Vladimir retired after a terrific fight against Anthony Joshua, where he probably put on the most exciting fight of his career. So people can still remember them for their accomplishments as well as their in-ring grit as well.
And another reason why the Klitschko brothers are the greatest brother combination is what they did to the sport. They brought boxing. The way that when they were fighting, all the fights that they brought over to Germany and the fights in the UK. I mean, it hasn't been the same. Not the UK, in Europe, it's been totally different since they were gone. They were powerhouses in the sport and always will be. I mean, their reign was one thing, but also what they did for the sport itself is massive. So they're the best brother combination.
Well, guys, have you ever heard of the Marquez brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
not better. They're not better than Klitschko, though. They're not better than Klitschko.
That's an even round, but it's going to be a 9-9 round. I'm taking a point off both of you guys for not mentioning the Marquez brothers. Juan and Rafa, come on. You can't not include the Marquez brothers in this.
I can't believe it.
No mention. The no mention was bad. The no mention was bad, but...
Yeah. So Juan, shout out to Juan.
You're gonna get the comments for that.
Dude,
for sure.
Guys, everyone at home, we worked last night. We are running on steam right now.
Well, history is being made. That is a 9-9 round. It was an even round.
One too the other week. Marquez with the rematch one knocking out Pacquiao.
That's right.
You know what it is? I think Raul is so close to us that Juan Manuel is so close to us we don't think about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think about it. So, Juan, I think about it. So, listen, we're going into the fourth round. We've got an even fight. Chris, you're going to start round 4.
What are the 3 again?
Now, I'm going to tell you right now. This is you give me which fighter of the 3 has the best chance of an upset. We've got Keith Thurman over Tim Tszyu, and these are all underdogs, obviously. Keith Thurman over Tim Tszyu, Ngannou over Joshua, or Garcia over Haney. All 3 are underdogs, but you guys give me the argument which guy can pull off a huge upset. You guys got it?
Got it.
All right, Chris, you are going to start round 4. It is all on the line. Are you going to defend your belt? Is Paulie going to take the strap back? Chris, you're starting round 4. Ring the bell.
So this is an excellent question because all 3 of those underdogs have a shot, and in different ways. Garcia, because of his power, his speed, his explosiveness, he has a shot it's a puncher's shot, but he's got a puncher's chance against Haney. And then with Ngannou, obviously, he's got a puncher's chance against Joshua. Joshua has looked chinny at times. I hate using that again, with him, and Ngannou was able to drop Tyson Fury, which was an amazing feat. And then lastly, we got Tim Tszyu, who's stepping up. He's never fought at a level like this. And Keith Thurman, who is a bit of an unknown. He's a dark horse. He's been out of the ring. He's only lost to Manny Pacquiao. He's had phenomenal wins against great fighters over his career. But the only viable answer is in the Tszyu fight. It is Thurman over Tszyu. And it's because of what I just said about him. When I did some study on Ngannou and Joshua. Joshua is just a different animal, and he's going to be too much for him. And then Haney and Ryan might not even happen in terms of what's going on with the press lately. So,
break.
I don't think any of these other dogs have a shot. Okay, I'm going to put this out there. But I got to pick one with the best shot. So I got to play process of elimination. I don't think Thurman has a shot at Tim Tszyu because he hasn't been great in like 5 years. Even in the wins that he's had since, he's got one loss, but even in the wins he's had, he kind of struggled. I was at the Jose Lopez fight. He looked terrible in winning that fight. Okay, so he hasn't been the same Thurman. So let alone you're going to fight Tszyu, who's ascending like a rocket and going to the top of that division. Then Ngannou, honestly, has a puncher's chance, but I think if you back up Ngannou, and I think Joshua's going to back him up and pummel him. So I think that's out. So honestly, I got to go with Ryan Garcia simply because there's at least a backstory. There's a rivalry. It was 3-3 in the amateurs. The only problem I have with Ryan Garcia is he's smoking weed, I heard now. His fight might not even happen. So, I mean, which way do you go here? I think that as opposed to Ngannou, at least Ryan Garcia comes from boxing. So there is something there. And then the boxing that he comes from is 6 fights with Devin Haney in the amateurs that you have something to fall back on. I don't think he's got much of a shot. But if I got to pick one, who has a shot?
Break.
Our own Sean Porter picked Thurman over Tszyu. So you're saying there's no shot? Well, there's no shot in those other fights. I'm telling you right now, I don't even think the Haney Ryan fight could even happen. I mean, it's not even going to happen at this point. Ryan's trying to push it off. He seemed like apparently he might have been drinking. He's definitely smoking. He said he drinks and smokes. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see him beating this highly disciplined and soaring Devin Haney right now. It's Thurman over Tszyu.
Great.
Sean was just trying to give a hot take. That's his buddy. So he was just trying to give him love. I don't think
throwing Sean under the bus. Jeez.
I don't even think he believes it. I think again, Ngannou gets backed up and beaten up by Joshua, and I don't really think Ryan wins, but I can see a path there as far as they have that rivalry. No, they've been in the ring with each other 6 times. You know, that's a lot of rounds they've done against each other. Even if it's a long time ago, there's a comfort level you get into. No feel out rounds. You're going to be able to just get in there and fight right away. That's the best shot for me if it even happens.
That's our bell, man. Wow. I mean, Paulie, you know, you say Garcia, but then you talked about him smoking weed and doing whatever else he's doing. And Chris, it's tough because Keith Thurman hasn't been in the ring in like 23 years. So where does a judge go? You know where a judge goes? Chris Algieri just defended his title. He wins that round 10-9.
Well, you know what? We got these results coming up in the next few months. Let's see what happens in these fights. Honestly, no, I don't know. There's not going to be an upset at all in any of the 3 anyway. What was that?
I agree. I don't think. Listen, I've been heavy on Tszyu the whole time, but I think the best chance of any of them is actually it might be Ngannou, honestly.
I think it's Ngannou, to be honest. I mean, Joshua looked great in the last fight, but not before that.
I don't know why, but I think Ngannou's going to get hammered, bro.
I do too. Paulie and I did an in the ring breakdown case to victory. You guys should definitely tune in when that comes out, and we did some research on that. I agree with you, Paulie. I think Joshua's going to hammer him.
Well, Chris Algieri, you defended your title, and this goes for all the people who say Paulie and I are family. That Paulie pays me off.
Oh, that's what it was.
No, this is fair scoring.
That's what it is.
This is fair.
Swayed by the fans.
Comment below. Not our best performance, but listen, we got the job.
Paulie
is being swayed by the fans.
Paulie, Slick Don 1 said last week, Paulie literally just said Fernando Vargas would beat Canelo, and you all still take him seriously? You still think that Vargas would have beat Canelo at 154? You said it last week.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, which depends which Vargas you want. The pre-Trinidad Vargas?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, listen.
Trinidad Vargas, I don't beat any Canelo at 154.
We're going to wrap this up. But Chris, you're the defending champ. I want to read two quotes from the 2 comments. JPM 2435 said, "The NBA of TNT of boxing. I love it. LOL." That's high praise. Nice. And also, I look forward to this segment all the time. The chemistry, not to mention the knowledge and quick responses, are too funny. So there you go. Chris Algieri, you have defended your sparring session championship.
I'm on the phone with my management team, and they're currently filing their protest right now.
Well, we listen to the protest, Paul. We are not like the
Apparently.
boxing stations. We do things right. So get your protests in. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. ProBox TV is your boxing channel, and Chris Algieri is your sparring session champion.
Everybody watch Salvador Sanchez against Patrick Ford.
I'm gonna watch that too.